Welcome to episode 17 of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames. And guys, if you want to stay up to date with amazing guests like Carly and many others that I've got on my show, be sure to hit the subscribe button at the bottom right of the page now. Or if you want a hit of career content that's going to really help you press forward and achieve the dream career that you always wanted, be sure to head over to my Facebook group, which is called Professional Career Growth, Fast Track to Success. So just head into the search bar at the top of the Facebook page and type in Professional Career Growth, Fast Track to Success. Well guys, on today's episode, I've got my great friend Carly Evans. Carly is the founder of Phoenix Transformations, which does a lot with energy work and energy healing. It helps you get through those energy blocks that are really stopping you moving forward in your life. She is also the founder of Coach Carly, which helps a lot with people with trauma and really traumatic events they've really suffered from, which are really holding them back and really stopping them achieving the life they really want. Carly really shares with us her amazing knowledge and experience and how to remove some of those mental roadblocks or energy blocks that are stopping you from achieving your success and being the best version you can. So let's get started on the interview, guys. I can't wait to share this with you.
Guys, welcome to episode 17 of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames, and on the show today, we've got an incredible guest, my great friend, Carly Evans. Carly is the founder of Coach Carly, which helps people through trauma and big issues in their life and helps them become the best version of themselves. Carly is also the founder of Phoenix Transformation, which helps with energy healing and Reiki to also release a lot of these blockages and energy blocks in your life. So Carly, I'm so excited to finally have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
If you could just give the audience a bit of a background into basically who you are, what your business does, and also what your career influences were like for you growing up.
Sure, yeah. Well, I can start by growing up, I suppose. Start by when I grew up. I was always, I guess, a bit of a rebel in that I kind of didn't really see the whole point of get married, have 2.4 kids, buy a house, be in a job that you hate for the rest of your life, and then hopefully retire and live out your years in a happy way. I just didn't get what I saw around me. Yes, I wanted those things in my life in terms of family and house and that kind of thing, but I just, from an early age, I didn't really understand society's rules in that way. So I don't know what it was. I just had this feeling that I wasn't going to play out my life like that. So when I got to becoming a teenager, I kind of started pushing out the social norms in that I didn't have anyone spiritual around me. I didn't have anyone who was asking the deep, profound questions about the meaning of life and that kind of jazz. But I had those questions inside of me and I didn't know where they came from, and they kind of did my head in a bit. So I kind of got into psychology at school, philosophy as well, which did my head in even more because you could waffle on about a theory that you had. And if you waffled on long enough and made a bit of sense, then you could seem to get an A star, which, to me, it was always just a theory.
Yep.
Psychology was way more my thing. So really exploring people and how they work, what makes them tick, what makes someone, more in the world of psychology, more abnormal than normal. What's normal anyway, but I really started exploring that side of life, and it just really fascinated me. So I got really into psychology. I always seemed to be like the natural agony aunt to my friends at school. I just seemed to know what to say if people were going through a rough time, and it just seemed to come naturally. So it was like a natural progression that I carried on with psychology, and then later found coaching, got into Reiki and the real spiritual side of life, and then kind of merged them all together into what is now my business. So
awesome.
Phoenix Transformation is my business where I do energy work, space clearing, and I teach Reiki as well. Okay. And I've been running that for 11 years, and I got into coaching in 2008. And now my kind of background career-wise, I spent a lot of time working in corrections, supervising people on their community orders and writing prison reports, and also in mental health. So I've kind of combined my coaching with that, in that I now coach people through change and trauma. And I'm not scared to go to the really scary places, I suppose, when people are feeling suicidal and when they're really not having a good time.
That's awesome, Carly. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know you and I have been through quite a lot of our, business journey together, and
we have
been in contact quite a lot. So yeah, I can totally relate. It's funny how you pick up on these certain things, through your career or just being around your friends, where I've been in a similar sort of journey where a lot of my friends would come to me for advice, or I'd help them with relationships or things like that. And until it suddenly just clicks in your head and you go, I actually have a natural talent for this, or it's something that comes easily to me. So yeah, I can completely relate. So guys, that's a key bit of advice there too from Carly, where look out for these certain things that you find are your natural abilities, or what people come to you for, or just flow easily for you. So thanks again, Carly. So Carly, what would you say would be some of your biggest learnings from working with the prisoners, or some of your biggest learnings from some of your previous careers that you've done?
Look, I think that everyone gets to a place of struggle in their lives, and that can be, classed as the dark night of the soul, I call it, and where if you can move through that place and you can discover more about yourself and grow, then you can really come out the other side. And usually that's a place that you can teach from as well. I think a lot of people go through those dark times and think, why me? And they kind of get stuck in victim mode. And especially a lot of the people that I worked within mental health and in corrections were very much stuck in that place and very, very limited by their limiting beliefs, and weren't maybe around people who could help them grow out of that. So they were very much just surrounded, by those people who just kept them stuck there. And anytime they maybe made a decision to try and change things, they would be dragged back down again by the people that they were hanging around. So I think one of my key learnings is that your environment is probably the biggest deal in your life. When you're trying to grow and move forward, you have to really assess your environment and how it's holding you back, because I really like the analogy of crab collecting on a beach. So if you take a bucket along a beach, collect a bunch of crabs, that top crab could claw its way out, but it can't, because all the ones underneath it are just dragging it back down again.
I love
and
that.
It's like that for so many people in life. I just see people get dragged down time and time again when they get really excited about an idea, or they're trying to make some big brave leap into something new in whatever area of their life that might be. The other crabs around them are just dragging them back down again, going, oh, that will never work, or you can't do that, you're not good enough, and it just feeds into other people's limiting beliefs about themselves.
Exactly. And it's such a powerful thing. It's come up a fair few times on these interviews, and probably with the most recent with Paris Mitchell, where he was telling his journey of being addicted to drugs and going to prison. And it was because he's never had a positive peer influence helping him with his life. And he's always been surrounded by people who are, at that low level, that low vibration. And like you said, they just drag you back down to that level until you decide to either cut them out of your life and surround yourself with positive people who are going to lift you up. Then, nothing, unfortunately, is really going to change until you make that choice to change. So,
That reminds me as well about an amazing conversation I had with a guy that I supervised on probation many, many years ago in London. And when we first met, he hated me. I literally thought, if I bump into, this guy on the street, he's going to want to kill me. Yeah. And he was a really violent man who I knew had killed people. And so, it was kind of my early days in my career. I was not scared of him, but I really didn't want to see him in the street, at the same time. And we ended up doing some amazing coaching sessions together, and it just came out of nowhere. And it was really, every week he was a surprise to me, He went from the first week saying, I'm going to turn up the time every week that you tell me to turn up, I'll be here, but you're not going to know anything about me. You're not going to find out anything about me. I knew lots about him anyway through police intel, believe me. But he was very, very shut down to me. The next week, he spent 2.5 hours talking. I literally had to kick him out of the room because he just did this verbal vomit.
Wow.
And told me basically everything I already knew from police intel, but told me his life story. And we had some fascinating conversations. And there was one particular chat that we had where I think I said something like, I believe everyone has $1 million idea. He was a smart businessman. He was actually the head of a Yardie gang in Brixton in London. And this is as tough as you can get, pretty much. Yeah. They slaughter each other for not very much. And so I said, I believe everyone has $1 million idea. And he goes, I know what mine is. And we had this conversation, and he was a bit closed off to it. He didn't want to share too much, you know, but it was a legit legal thing.
Oh, wow.
And he said, he kind of went straight into this place of, no, I couldn't, like literally he'd get really stressed out and be like, pacing the room. But, you know, if I get really rich, then everyone in my yard is going to basically, you know, do the dirty on me and want my money, or, you know. And I ended up saying to him, well, so you're telling me you're still going to live in Brixton in a council estate when you're a millionaire?
Yeah.
And he just hadn't even considered the possibility that he could leave.
Yeah.
Or that it was possible for him to leave. And he knew that the people around him were bringing him down. And he was a big part of that as well. But, you know, he wanted that safety for him and his kids. And it just didn't clock to him that he could, if he was a millionaire, he probably wouldn't live there.
Exactly.
You know, he would have to change his environment. He would be forced to. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that as well, like these old patterns and old belief systems that no longer serve us, like hold such a big impact on your life. And
yes.
You know, like you said with that guy, he couldn't even envision anything apart from what he already knew. And that's all he knew, and that's all he wanted to head back to, or didn't want to head back to, but it didn't make any difference. So, yeah, thanks.
You know what, though? He left that conversation and he said, I'm going to go and speak to my lawyer now about his $1 million idea. And and the next week he'd implemented stuff already. It's really very, very cool conversations to have.
That's awesome, Carly. Thanks so much for sharing. That's a really cool story. So just touching on that, I know you and I are quite big on, like, I'm exactly the same as you, big into psychology and mindset. So we've all gone through our own, you know, limiting beliefs and mental roadblocks. So what would you say would be your biggest mental roadblock that you've had to overcome, and how have you overcome it?
Oh, there's been a few, like there is for anyone, especially people in business. But I guess the most recent one for me, because I quit my full-time job in April, is my limiting belief of you have to work really, 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 really hard, and even then you can lose it all again. And I totally saw that play out in my parents. They run a few businesses together. So I've kind of had that entrepreneurial family growing up. But I watched them work their absolute asses off, you know, and a really early money memory for me is watching my dad walk up these steps. It was a council building, and I remember being in the car with my brother and sister and my mum, and the energy was just like doom and gloom, you know. And I don't know how old I was, but I was pretty young. And I just remember watching, you know, when you can see the steps of a building outside the building, I could see my dad walk up the stairs, zigzagging up the stairs. And I just knew it wasn't a good thing. And I don't know why I knew it wasn't a good thing. But now I know that they were going into administration in their business. And so, you know, things were pretty tough for them. And they sheltered us from that massively when we were growing up. But, you know, I'm someone who picks up on energy a lot. So I definitely picked up on that. And so what I saw was how hard they worked. I mean, they have the strongest work ethic of anyone that I know, and have instilled really amazing values in us in terms of business and money growing up, I'm really, really grateful for. But I watched how hard they worked and then how they nearly lost it. So that's that was a deeply ingrained belief in me. And now I've been running my business for 11 years now, but I've always worked up until April. I've always worked full time. And, you know, I've gone through quite a few years of having 4 jobs on the side sometimes, you know.
Yep.
So I have that really hard work ethic. And now I'm running my business full time. I love what I do. It isn't hard work. Yes, I work hard, but it's not hard work. There's a real big difference for me. And so I've come into a lot of conflict with that belief. You know, there's definitely been times when I've hit resistance and hit walls, because how can it be so easy? How can I have all this money flowing to me and all these clients flowing to me and having, you know, living in my dream home by the ocean? How can all this be happening and not absolutely slaving away for it?
Exactly.
So, and it's still, you know, I'm shedding layers and layers and layers of that belief all the time. I do lots of work around it, but I still, you know, I feel like I'm constantly upper limiting. I've been constantly upper limiting for the last few months, which is a really interesting process. But that's definitely the biggest one for me in business so far. But you know, personally speaking, I suppose the beliefs that we all have, things like I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, I've never met a single person that doesn't have that belief.
No.
And the extent to which you can be successful is the extent to which you can either ignore it or, you know, or shed the layers of that and prove yourself wrong, basically. Prove your own theory wrong.
Yep. Exactly. Thanks so much for sharing, Carly. And
Sure.
it just got me thinking back to, you know, a few things I've read from different entrepreneurs or heard on podcasts. And it says a lot of them are saying the common thing. Obviously, everyone knows about stretching your comfort zone to achieve different results. But, you know, I read one quote one day that said, you know, if I'm not afraid of what I'm doing every day, I'm not growing to the level I really want to be. So I think fear is such a good thing that so many people like just let it control them and stop them moving forward. Embrace that fear and realize that that's what's going to help you grow. So I've tried to live by that nowadays with my business, because I think I was too afraid of stretching myself to uncomfortable places. And now that I'm doing that, I'm starting to see better results in my business and just everything in my life in general. So I think that's such a valuable thing as well. Yeah,
definitely. And the best kind of fear is that scary, excited feeling, you know, because that's when you know you're on the verge or you're making a decision about something in your life that, you know, when you get that scary, excited, goosebumps but shitting yourself kind of feeling, you know, that's when you know it's the right feeling to have, the right decision to be making. And I totally had that when I quit my job. Exactly. You know, quitting the safety net of my job while I'm building a house still, you know. I just heard my dad's voice in my head of, "You're crazy. What are you doing?" And I was totally bricking it, but I knew it was the right move. And I haven't, you know, what's the word? The word has completely gone, but I know I've made the right decision for myself and for my family, and it's all working out beautifully.
And I'm so proud of you, Carly. Like, you know, as
I
said, from seeing each other, you know, come through quite a similar path, it's so exciting to see, you know, everything really working out for you. And from, like I said, I've seen all the hard work you've been putting in, and it's incredible. You should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you.
That's okay. So Carly, I know we've all got one really positive trait or one really positive habit that has really helped us to move forward or to succeed in our life or in our career. And we've also got one hindering habit that really limits us or holds us back. What do you think your most positive habit or belief would be? And what would be one of your most hindering ones?
My most positive habit, I think it's partly sticking to a routine, like knowing really the routine, especially the morning routine that really works for me, but also being really determined in just everything that I do. Determined in clearing my crap that's holding me back, you know, having the willingness to face my darkest sides, my shadow stuff, and, you know, with the view of mopping it up so that I can move forward, because I know that it will hold me back if I don't. I think probably my most limiting trait has been to be a compulsive giver at times when I really need it the most. And that's definitely something that I have changed a lot over the last few years, but it really held me back for a really long time. As someone in a helping profession, as someone who loves helping other people and, you know, just really buzzes and thrives from that. It's what I'm here to do, you know. It took me a long time to realize that could be really to my detriment. So my ex called me a compulsive giver at a time of my own need, and he was totally right. You know, I have an ability to, when I really need the energy myself the most, I have an ability to magnetize a bunch of other people who are really, really draining into my life.
Oh no.
And it took me a really long time to figure out where that came from. And I got to a place here when I first moved to Australia. It was my first year here. I had experienced depression and burnout in the past in London before I moved here in 2010. I've had burnout a few times career-wise. And when I thought that I had recovered from depression, and when I moved over here, I found myself in a situation where I was all of a sudden having to do tree planting to get my second year working holiday visa, right? So with all the career professional knowledge that I had, I found myself, you know, in winter in the chucking down rain with a lightning storm around me, planting trees to get a visa. And I just was thinking, you know, really, really, you know, I can't just be sponsored. So I suddenly wasn't in a profession where I was helping anybody. I wasn't in a relationship where I was helping anybody, because that was another thing I was really good at, was attracting kind of projects into my life in the past. And I was back in depression really, really quickly. You know, the idea of, well, I'm doing something good because I'm planting trees and I'm helping contribute to the environment. That lasted, you know, that didn't last very long in my mindset. Yeah. And it took me going back into depression and burnout at that point to realize that all of my self-worth came from helping other people, literally all of it. And I thought, wow, that is not a good place to be in, and that's not a place that I want to be in anymore. So I really had to unpack that for myself and figure out where that came from, you know, and really do the work on that to be able to overcome depression for good and to be able to overcome burnout. Because the reason that I was getting burnt out all the time is because I was totally giving all of my energy to other people. And I wasn't ever prioritizing myself because I saw that as a selfish thing. And I thought, well, I get so much joy from helping other people. How can that be a bad thing? But what I see time and time again in people who are in helper roles, you know, GPs, nurses, people who do energy work, coaches, you know, anyone who's running a business as well, I see time and time again how they experience burnout. And it's you know, that overgiving is definitely not a strength. I used to think it was a strength, but it is a weakness, and it's a limitation that you have to fight really hard to overcome, I think, when you're someone who loves helping other people.
Exactly. That's so true. And I can completely relate to exactly the same thing. I've often given, and people have often taken advantage of me in the past where because you're nice, because you give to people and want to help people and see the best interest in them, people abuse that, or like you said, you just drain yourself completely mentally. So I think the biggest thing, and I've said this before, is about filling your own cup first. So I've always prioritized, you know, what I really want first, and you know, helping people comes as a natural progression or reaction to filling up and putting myself out there to the world.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. The more you have the more you can give to yourself, the more you have to give to other people. That's how I try and reframe it to my coaching clients when they feel really selfish, you know, taking 5 minutes out of their day for themselves, because they have kids all around them, or, you know, they've got their family to feed and that kind of thing. And, you know, I always say to them, well, how can it be a selfish thing when you're becoming your best self so that you've got more to give to your family? You have to look at it that way.
So true. That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that awesome advice, Carly.
Sure.
So, Carly, what would you say would be the best career advice you reckon you've ever received in your life?
Ooh, the best career advice I have ever received in my life. Probably to surround myself with the people that are where I want to be. You know, and I was listening to Facebook Live this morning. That was just a reminder of that, you know, and kind of going back over in my head, have I outgrown the people that I'm with at the moment? You know, am I around people who are where I want to be? Am I spending enough time there around, like physically around people? Because as an entrepreneur, I think it's really easy to hang out online with loads of people that are where you want to be. Exactly. But and I'm doing loads of that, but when you look at your actual physical surroundings and who you're actually spending your time with, you know, are you spending your time with broke, unhappy people? Yeah. Like David T.S. Wood says, don't hang out with broke, unhappy people, because they're not going to get you rich and they're not going to get you happy.
So true.
You know, so really look at really look at your environment, I think, and just constantly be assessing that, because I think as entrepreneurial types, we're so used to learning and growing that we can really quickly outgrow where we are. Yep. And so it's really, I've just done my 2017 plan and my 2016 wrap up, and I got so buzzy about 2017 and all the places that I'm going to see and all the people that I'm going to hang out with and the people that are really going to help me grow. Because I realized this year that I've got a bit stagnant with that, you know, that I've spent the last few years hanging out with people who were where I wanted to be, but aren't anymore. And I just kind of forgot to reassess that for myself, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So, yeah, and I think that's such a massive impact, not just for your business, but in your career as well. Like, you know, you don't want to hang around negative people who are just bagging out their job or they're miserable and depressed. You kind of want to hang around people who are going to motivate and uplift you, support you, and help guide and nurture you in your career. So
definitely. And I think that's why I'm really grateful for the career that I've had as a probation officer and as a mental health worker, because I have really been privileged to see some of the really shitty, dark sides of life that people experience, and how they can be some of the happiest people sometimes. That, you know, I was working at a homeless shelter, just doing some volunteering work recently in the last couple of weeks, and I was sitting there next to a guy who was feeling really suicidal, and yet he still had this big smile on his face, you know, and there was just something about his energy that really shone through. And, you know, a lot of people in that homeless shelter really had nothing. Like, they really have nothing, and they don't have family around them. And so I started, the more I got into that kind of work, the less tolerant I became of some of the people that I was hanging around, who literally would just moan about absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I'm so intolerant to that stuff these days. I just can't, you know, there's some stuff that just doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter when you really can put it into perspective. And my whole career has been about keeping things in perspective for me. So I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yep. Perfect. That's great, Carly. So I know we were talking about career burnout, and I think that's such a big and important thing that a lot of people, it kind of just slides under the radar. Like, a lot of people don't really understand how detrimental career burnout is. So, Carly, what would you say would be 3 to 5 actionable tips you could recommend to my audience that could really help them to avoid career burnout, or potentially to help fill their own cup up, or you know, be in a better peak mental state?
I think it's really important to do something every day that does nourish you. I think when we're, in particular for me, I definitely went through this when I've been burnt out or really, really stressed. I forget to have fun, and fun is so important, and fun is a really quick and easy way to snap yourself out of stress.
Definitely.
When I get my clients to write a list of things that they find fun to do when they're stressed out, they really, really struggle with it. And I know that I definitely struggled. I find so many different things fun to do, but when I'm stressed out, I really struggle to remember those things. So it's a good practice to kind of write stuff down for yourself that, you know, you can have a list of things that you can do that will nourish you, and some that you can do on your own, some that you can do with other people, some that you can do wherever you are. So I actually put together a list of 18 ways that you can feel better now, which is on my website, coachcarly.com. And that's just quick and easy steps that you can take. Things like, if you live near the beach, go to the beach on your way home, just breathe in the ocean. You know, the ocean for me really puts things into perspective. When I sit there on the beach and I look at the ocean, and I just think, wow, you know, I just feel like a tiny little blip. and all my problems suddenly just seem a lot more insignificant than they were before. But also dipping your feet in the salt water, it's a really powerful transmuter of negative energy. If you don't live near the beach, then any kind of body of water will do. So whether that's going to a lake, or even a fountain in your backyard, or a pond, you know, or sitting in the bath, or having a shower, something like that will just kind of break your state a bit. Another break state tool that I love is EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which is tapping on various acupressure points in the body while you're repeating statements. And that's a really good way to shift you out of the negative state. There are loads of EFT videos on YouTube. So my advice is to go onto YouTube, search EFT, and then a keyword. So EFT burnout, EFT stress, whatever it might be, whatever's relevant for you at the time. Brad Yates is a guy that I love on YouTube, and I've kind of sifted through a few EFT practitioners on YouTube. You've got to really like their accent. You know, some accents I just find a bit annoying to listen to. So if you're going to be watching and listening and repeating what they're doing, you need to have some kind of rapport with them, you know?
Definitely.
But yeah, whatever floats your boat. So whether it's, you know, tickling your kids and hearing them laugh, like that's an amazing break state as well, or walking your dogs and watching them run around like a loon, or watching a comedy, or, you know, just trying to avoid those negative coping tools that will just kind of bring you downhill even further, like sitting there and eating a tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, or sinking a bottle of wine, or whatever it might be. It might shift you out of a mindset in that particular moment, but you're going to feel it the next day, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah, positive steps that you can take to shift yourself out of that state.
That's perfect. Guys, go back and write down what Carly's just told you. It's great. And yeah, I can totally agree with you on all of them as well. Like, for me, water is such a calming thing, and just putting myself in front of the beach and just looking at the ocean and the waves, it's just so calming and relaxing and centers me. But as well as EFT, I've actually had EFT to help me clear some of my own blockages with one of my friends. And I was a bit skeptical at first. I hadn't heard much about it, but it actually really works. It's helped me clear a lot of like previous anger and some issues I had in the past. So definitely works, and it works really well. So
it's definitely a really weird woo-woo thing. When you first find EFT, you think, what? I'm tapping on points in my body and just repeating negative statements. How is that going to fix anything? I actually did an EFT course this year, and it explained a lot more. I've been doing EFT from YouTube for years and have seen the benefits of it, but it was really great to learn a bit more about the science behind it. And at the end of the day, there's loads of woo-woo and out there tools that I use in terms of energy work. But you know what? As a psychologist, I really was a massive skeptic when I first got into this stuff, but I have literally proved it to myself through just practice. I just can't deny that these things work. And also, I believe that everything works. If you chuck everything at it, chuck everything at a problem, all of it works if you keep an open mind. And look, even if it is placebo effect, who cares? If it's working, then it's working.
That's right, yeah. As long as it's changing your state and changing the way you think and feel, then and try whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
But thanks again for sharing that, Carly.
Sure.
So Carly, we're just getting ready to wrap up soon. So what would be some parting advice you'd love to share with my audience that could really help them out with their career, or just in general with their life, with their well-being as well?
I think something that has really been a huge influence to me for the last few years is just really stepping into your authentic truth, you know, really being true to who you are, really being in integrity. I noticed that when I set up my second business, I was way more, so I had Phoenix Transformation first, and I used to write newsletters and stuff based on what I thought people wanted to read. And people would meet me and they think, oh, you're nothing how I thought you'd be. And when I set up Coach Carly, I'm just me. You know, when I write, I just write how I talk. I'm just really, that's just me. I am my brand on that. And as soon as I stepped into my authentic self with that and stopped hiding behind a logo and stopped hiding behind what I thought people wanted to read or hear, my business really took off. Yeah. So step into your authentic truth. Really, pay attention to your gut feeling. If something doesn't feel right, then don't go with it. If you need to stand up for yourself more, then do that. Just really figure out who you really are. And that's a big, long process to figure that out sometimes if you're really disconnected from that. But the longer you shy away from that, the longer you hold yourself back from being connected to your true, authentic self, the tougher it will get. So make that decision today to really, have a look at what's in your life, have a look at where you're not being authentic. And look at ways that you can change that, work with someone who can help you with that as well. Because, sometimes when you're really disconnected, you need a bit of a nudge, I think.
Definitely. And that's so true. And I think more and more people nowadays are starting to see through people who are unauthentic.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Checking that image of something that they're not. It's quite easy to see through those people and just, they're not being genuine, not being sincere. And you're not going to attract the results that you want because that's not really what you're meant to be doing on the earth, or that's not really the person you're meant to be. So
exactly. But also the decisions and the actions that you take when you're not being authentic is completely incongruent with, who you're saying you're being as well sometimes. So you're right, people can spot an inauthentic person a mile off now, and more and more people are talking about that as well. So a lot of my mentors and coaches that I look up to are people who are, literally warts and all. They are just who they are. And I know that when I meet them, if I haven't met them already, that I know that they will be exactly how they are, how I see them online. So, yeah.
And I've really noticed the big difference with the people I've attracted in my life, like yourself and a lot of my other good friends and business friends, is that since I've really found my passion and purpose in doing what I do with my career counselling, I've attracted those genuine sort of authentic people who love what they're doing and have that fire within themselves as well. Yeah. So it's been a whole different class of people that I've attracted into my life, and it really brought me into a really positive state. So it
becomes so much more fun to work like that, doesn't it? Yeah,
exactly. Definitely.
Follow your heart, guys.
Sure does. Well, Carly, I really, really appreciate your time. I always love our chats. So we've always had such amazing, open-sided chats and such good insight come out of them. So I appreciate your time and for coming on my show and sharing with my audience.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
So, Carly, just to finish up, where would be the best place to get in contact with you? Or is there any resources or anything you'd like to share with my audience that could really benefit them in their life?
Yeah, sure. So just head over to my website, coachcarly.com. Carly is spelled C-A-R-L-Y. A lot of people think I say Kylie. coachcarly.com. And there's a free download on there called 18 Ways to Feel Better Now. That's one that I was talking about before. So you can print that off, stick it on your fridge. If you're not feeling good, then implement any one of those tools to help you shift out of that negative mindset, and add your own at the bottom as well. I've also got is it depression or is it burnout report, because a lot of people think that when they're burnt out, they're depressed. The symptoms are really, really similar, but the treatment is so very different. I've had both before, and you treat them in a completely different way. So I've got a report on that as well. If you go to coachcarly.com/is it depression or is it really burnout, then you'll get that for free in your inbox. And yeah, there's a few other free resources on my website. Just go into the shop there, you can download them. And also find me on Facebook, so just Coach Carly, and my other business is Phoenix Transformation. So I've got business pages for both of them. So feel free to PM me or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Carly. And guys, I'll put all these links in the show notes for you, so you can click on them and take advantage of Carly's incredible resources. I can say Carly really knows her stuff, and she's incredible at what she does, guys. So jump on board.
Thank you, Paul.
Carly, thanks so much again for being on my show. I hope you have an amazing Christmas and New Year, and I'm sure you and I will catch up real soon.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Overdue for a beer for sure.
I think so, definitely, yeah. But thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and stay tuned next week. We've got another incredible person who's going to help you progress and move forward in your career. Thanks, guys. Have a great Christmas.
Bye.
If you've really loved the content that Carly shared in today's episode that's really helping you move forward in your life and break through some of those barriers that are holding you back in your career, be sure to head over to Carly's website, where she has a ton of free resources and tools that are really going to help you smash through and get your career to the next level, or to get your life to that next level. So head on over to www.coachcarly, CoachCarly.com, and head on over to the shop tab, where you can find some ebooks and resources that are really going to help you move forward in your life. Thanks so much for tuning in today's episode. I look forward to bringing another amazing episode to you guys next week. Have an amazing new year, and I'll see you soon.